escape, the circumstances of the escape?
Well, any escape is troubling because we arrest them for a reason, right? They have done something that calls for their arrest. So we are always concerned about escapes. However, we're also very confident through our partnerships and through our own perseverance and our capabilities, those talents that we have in the organization, that we will stay on the hunt and we will ultimately locate our objectives or our targets. And that's, so we were confident we would ultimately find him. It was just a matter of time, but we were relentless in our pursuit, as you can see.
My last question on this
Was
topic.
anybody else arrested along with him? Anyone who might have been helping him or?
No.
Can you give anything else on how exactly you found him? Was it tips from the public? Was it your own internal investigation? And then I have one question for
So I'm not going to go into the details about how we found him because I don't want to jeopardize them for future purposes. But I will say that we continuously implore and ask for the participation of anyone in the community. Certainly our law enforcement partners, but the civilian population plays a really relevant part and role in helping us to identify people who would otherwise put them at risk. These people are not their friends. They may be family members and they may be sentimental to them. However, the crimes that they have committed, the acts that they have perpetrated, only put the law-abiding citizen at risk, and we are doing our level-headed best to prevent that from happening.
Do you feel more comfortable having him in marshal custody, or does he have to go to MPD custody at this point, given the circumstances of the escape?
We have no reservation about the services or the efforts of our colleagues in MPD. We are confident that they can do what they need to do as we do what we do.
All right, I'm the last one on this topic.
Chief Parsons, my memory is last time we talked about this, there was some investigation into whether the officers who responded to the hospital handled his transfer to a bed properly. Can you update us on the status of that investigation?
Yeah, so that investigation is still ongoing. There was an administrative investigation initiated to see if they followed proper protocols, and I can tell you that that investigation is still underway.
All right. We'll transition to PWC.
Thank you, Marshal. Thank you. Thank you.
Take a cue on the video release.
Yes, sir.
Chief, so we're hearing from the man who killed his father, says that he wants all of the body camera video released. He does not believe that video shows his son firing at police and firing police first. What's your message to the community about that?
It's really hard to hear you. Can we repeat that again? I'm sorry.
The man who was killed in this
Yes.
33-year-old Arthur Porter, his father saw the video yesterday, and he's calling for all of the body cam video to be released. He does not believe that it shows his son with the gun raised firing at police and firing police first. Can you please speak to what is your message to the community about this?
No, I mean, my message to the community is the same thing I've said before. Any loss of life in our communities is tragic, not only for the family, but for the entire community. And I definitely give my condolence to the family. I do know that representatives from our Department of Behavioral Health were able to speak with the family and discuss the video that we released with their consent. I'm not familiar with any other comments from the family. That's something I would have to follow up on because that's the first time I'm hearing that standing here.
What are your thoughts, Chief, on if you think that this was an appropriate use of force? Do you believe that this was an appropriate use of force?
It wouldn't be a good position for me to speculate on that. Our Internal Affairs Division, our Force Investigations team, they'll conduct a thorough investigation into our officers' response, their actions, and the use of force itself. That'll be done in conjunction with the United States Attorney's Office, who will review every aspect of the case and decide how we proceed moving forward. So, I mean, the long answer to your question is what I just gave you, but I don't think it's proper to speculate on what the response was.
And these officers are on leave?
These officers are on administrative leave pursuant to our policy, yes.
Can you talk to who fired first when it comes to this exchange that we talked about? Can you talk to that who fired first?
Yeah, that's what the investigation will reveal. As I just said, it'd be tough for me to try to speculate in watching a video and trying to figure that out. We have some really good force investigators, as well as our partnership with the U.S. Attorney's Office, and they will make those determinations.
In your comments, but could you elaborate on Do you believe that the man who ended up dying did in fact pull out a gun and fired shots? If you could just talk about that.
Yeah, so I mean, I really, again, that comes back to the speculation part. I think that we have to let the investigation play out and let the investigation reveal exactly what happened. And that's why we do investigations. That's why it's not just myself or anyone else on the Metropolitan Police Department that makes those decisions. We don't make those decisions in a bubble. We don't take these situations lightly. We have an entire force investigations team, and we make those decisions, and those investigations are in consultation with the United States Attorney's Office, and that's exactly what we'll do in this case.
Chief, can you tell us what your investigation is preliminarily told you about who actually shot the officer who was struck, and where in that officer's body was he struck?
Yeah, so I don't have, to answer the first part, I don't have a preliminary answer on that. You know, as we've discussed before, we have to let the investigation determine exactly what transpired. Our officer was struck in a non-critical area in the side, more towards the midline to the back area.
So, when we're looking at the video, and you tell us that he was shot in the back area, it appears that that would have come from the officer. That would have been friendly fire.
Yeah, I don't think you can speculate about friendly fire at this point. I think you have to let the investigation do exactly what investigations do and determine exactly what happened.
And can you tell us, you have confirmed that the suspect's gun was operable and loaded with live ammunition, that he discharged live, I mean, because you said there was an exchange, at least at site number 2. Is that correct?
Correct. There was an exchange, and you know, when you see the video, you will see the involved individual's weapon that was recovered with the slide lock to the rear, which is indicative of a gun that has been fired until it ran out of ammunition.
Well, so that brings me to mind, could it have run out of ammunition before the encounter with Officer 2 at location 4?
That's what the investigation will figure out. That isn't something I can answer standing here in front of you today.
You talked a bit too about the initial exchange that brought you there. Was that gun used? Was that gun used on the other people? Was it brandished, I guess, during the encounter?
So as I said when I opened up, the initial call for service was for a man with a gun who was arguing with 2 other folks. The investigation will determine whether the gun was used in that encounter too, because our force investigation team will investigate the sequence of events in its entirety. All right.
Is the bullet out of the officer?
I wouldn't comment on that out of respect for the officer as well as privacy laws. I wouldn't comment.
Can you just update us on his condition, expectation of recovery?
Yeah, so our officer is doing well. As I said, was released from the hospital and is at home recovering.
And expects to make a full recovery?
It appears so at this point, yes.
With regard to evidence, can you confirm all of the ballistic evidence, the bullets from the guns, were recovered for investigation?
I can confirm that ballistic evidence was recovered from the scene, but I don't know what you mean by all the bullets. I can say ballistic evidence was recovered from the scene, but beyond that, I can't comment anymore.
All the shells and shots fired?
We recovered multiple casings at the scene.
And then all of the bullets possibly found?
I don't have a list of evidence, and I wouldn't drill down that deep, and I wouldn't talk about the evidence. As I said, this is a case still under investigation.
Can you talk about the experience of the officers involved in the shooting?
Yeah, you know, the officers, their experience level and their time on the department, that's stuff that we can provide to you. I don't have that sitting in front of me. I wouldn't want to give you the wrong information, and I wouldn't want to speculate. We do have, varying levels of varying levels of experience represented in our officers that were involved in this event. So that's something we can follow up with you and get that to you.
Can you talk, Chief, about just what your officers encounter on a daily basis in the city?
No, I mean, when you watch the video, you'll see these officers, they're doing exactly what we want them to do. They're out in community, they're being visible, they're being present, and they're running towards danger. I mean, these officers every day, I mean, you have the sounds of gunshots and you see officers running towards that. That's what makes the men and women of the Metropolitan Police Department some of the greatest in the world. They're dedicated to the job, they're motivated to protecting the public, and you see them running towards danger. every single day.
Chief, can I just, in training in general, when there's training, I have to imagine this is a situation you train for, two officers approaching a suspect who flees and there's an exchange of gunfire. Is there training about staying parallel to one another, not getting in the other person's line of sight or line of fire? Is that something you guys train on?
Yeah, so I mean, we have our own Metropolitan Police Academy, which I'm sure you're aware. We go through multiple scenarios. There's quite a bit of training, especially when it comes down to use of force. I think it's hard to train for every exact circumstance and situation. Part of our investigation will be looking at that tactical analysis and looking at the tactics used by the officer. And that'll be done as a result of the investigation. It's not something I could speculate on.
Just for the public, if you could just explain the question as to why, with the Park Police involved shooting, multiple cameras of officers who did not fire were released, but why in this case we're only seeing the body cameras of 2 officers who did fire, not the officer who was injured but did not fire.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with the release of the Park Police video. That might be something we can follow up with you offline. All right, thank you.